how some leaders stand out from other people. In this video, I'm going to share with you a secret skill that will help you as a woman in leadership to communicate at a level that automatically causes you to stand out from everybody else. Now, this secret skill I'm sharing with you today is a skill a lot of people don't really talk about. Why? Because they don't understand how much this skill can change your life. So if you have clicked on this video, I know you are supposed to be here because you are interested in becoming a better leader and being that person that is able to inspire and influence other people. So I appreciate you being here. You want to watch this video to the end. I'm going to dive into how this secret, now there's a lot of secrets I have to share with you. You definitely want to subscribe to my channel to learn those in terms of how to make yourself stand out as a leader and then how to communicate as a leader. But this is a powerful one. You want to watch this video because many people struggle with this secret. And in this video, I'm going to share with you why this secret is so important, number one. And then two, some strategies to help you master this secret. So if you're interested in that, then feel free to stay here on the channel. Now, my channel specifically focuses in on providing advanced level, excuse me, I'm so excited about this topic, advanced level communication strategies for women in leadership that are trying to accelerate their careers. Now, my direct audience that I work with in terms of my executive coaching practice consists of women in leadership. However, on many of the platforms that I have accounts on, such as LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and of course here on YouTube, I have many people in my audience that are not women in leadership. They may be women that are not in leadership roles just yet, or they may be men in leadership. And I want to tell you all welcome. I'm glad you're here because the information I'm sharing with you, regardless of if you are in my audience that I provide one-on-one services to or not, you're going to learn a tremendous amount of value on my channel that will help you regardless of what gender you are in or what category you are in right now. So I appreciate you being here. Why is this topic so important and what secret am I going to share with you today? Well, this video is a live video. So if you're watching this portion of the video, you are more than likely watching the replay, friend. And welcome. I'm glad you're here today. There's typically a point in time where people start to join the conversation. So give me a few moments so I can at least say hello to them. And we'll go into this secret leadership skill that you want to use as a woman in leadership, or if you are trying to get into a leadership role, as I mentioned earlier, and you're in a different category, this will help you automatically stand out from everybody else. Now, the secret leadership communication skill that I'm going to share with you today is silence. Silence is very, very powerful as a leader. And before I go into this more and tell you why it's important, why you want to master it and give you a strategy to do it, I want to say hello to those of you who are joining live today. If you have wanted to ever learn how to communicate at a higher level than your peers as a leader so that you stand out from all the other leaders in your organization, in your business, in your industry, then you absolutely want to watch this video. This video, I'm going to share with you the secret skill I mentioned a moment ago, which is silence, in terms of how you communicate as a leader. We're going to dive into that today in terms of how you can start implementing some strategies today that will help you to be able to master this leadership communication skill. Now, many of you may be wondering, why is this important? But before I do that, let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And if you've ever struggled with silence in a conversation, let me know in the comments below, because this is a very important skill. It's one of the most important leadership communication skills that I highlight on my channel. There's several of them. If you want to learn more, you absolutely want to watch my live streams that I have here on YouTube. I have a lot of them, so check them out, and you're welcome to subscribe if you want to learn more. So let's talk about silence in leadership in terms of as a communication skill. Now, there's strategic times you want to be silent in leadership. There's times when you do not need to be silent, and there's times when you do need to be silent. In this video, I'm going to focus more on what you need to do as it relates to times when you need to be silent, when you need to be very strategic in terms of how you are communicating as a leader. And the first topic I would say I want to unpack as it relates to silence and leadership is that silence is something that people struggle with in in your everyday conversations, I would say. Let me know in the comments below, have you ever struggled with silence in a conversation? Have you? I have many years ago. I don't struggle with it as much anymore because I've definitely mastered that skill, but it's something people struggle with. Why do people struggle with silence in leadership or when they're communicating? Because most of the time people are not really comfortable with silence. It's very awkward, right? It's awkward. There's this active conversation you're having, and then there's this dead silence or space that's there, and many people are not quite sure of what should I say, what should I do when silence happens. But I want to share with you that silence is actually a secret leadership superpower, that if you learn how to master it, you will be able to stand out from everybody else. Majority of people in the world, I would say, struggle with silence because of how awkward it feels. Therefore, if you can be the leader that actually can master silence, then you will stand out from everybody else. Silence itself it can be good and it can be bad. And there's different times you want to use silence. If you are having a conversation with your team and you're discussing a very important topic as a leader, you want to use silence occasionally in your conversation. Silence itself, if you can master this secret leadership skill, it will allow many things to happen. One of the things that happens when you are silent in a leadership conversation or in a conversation you're having with your team is that silence creates space. And sometimes in a conversation, people become very nervous, they're very excited, or they just don't know what to say, and they tend to talk very, very fast. But if you can slow things down and pause before saying certain words or certain statements, it allows the person listening to you to digest what you are saying. For example, if you are speaking to a group of people and you are talking about, let's say there's a topic that you need to emphasize, is a ask that you have. Maybe you're doing some fundraising for an event or for your business. Maybe you are talking about some support that you need. After you have explained something very complex, give yourself a few moments and pause after you say what it is that you want to say. This gives the audience that you are speaking to time to digest the information. You will see how people will start to process it. Now, before I go into that, I see something came in on the chat. Hello, let's see, Santosh APPUSP Apu. I'm sorry, I'm driving, friend, so if I did not say your name correctly, I'm sorry about that. Welcome, friend. How you doing today? Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. So the member says, hi, dear. How are you? I'm Indian. Well, welcome, welcome. I'm glad you're here today. I appreciate you being here. Let me know if you've ever struggled with silence in a conversation. We're talking about that because this is a secret leadership skill that you will want to learn how to master as a leader, because it actually helps you to stand out quite a bit. People think silence is bad. No, silence is very, 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 very powerful. The reason people think silence is bad is because they're not comfortable with it. And so if you're watching this video or you have subscribed to my channel, you will see how there is power in silence, especially when you're communicating as a leader. Now, I talked to you briefly about why people struggle with this secret skill, which is silence, why they struggle with it, why this is an issue. And I've shared with you when you want to use silence. So if you are making a presentation or you are presenting complex information, don't just keep talking about it. Give your audience time to just digest what you just said. Often, if you are wanting to make a big impact or big effect on something, you can also stay silent after you have done that, when you've mentioned the information to your audience. If you do that, it helps to allow the audience to once again process information. So let's say you're speaking to a group of people and you have an emotional topic that you're talking about, or something that stirs some kind of emotion. If you're speaking to them in your leadership setting, and let's say something big happened, something catastrophic happened or something like that, and you're speaking to them and you want them to feel it, you want them to feel what you're talking about, then you would pause after you make your statement. It feels awkward when you pause and you're silent. It does. And that's why I say a lot of people are uncomfortable with it. But if you can do it, it gives people time to digest the information and to really think about what you are saying. And that, leaders, is what will make you stand out from everybody else. Most leaders will just say what they need to say and keep going. But if you can pause and stay silent in your conversation, you're giving people time to think. Most leaders do not do this. They struggle with this. And if you're watching this channel, I don't want you struggling with silence anymore. All right, we have Nikki is the GOAT. Welcome, Nikki. Hope you're doing well today. Appreciate you stopping by. Feel free to let me know if you've ever struggled with silence in a conversation. I'm sharing with you how silence is a secret superpower as a leader that you definitely want to have. Nikki is the GOAT. Sorry, I'm driving. Yep, Nikki is the GOAT says, God bless you. Well, thank you, Nikki is the GOAT. I appreciate you. Hopefully you subscribe to the channel so you can learn more advanced level communication skills that will help you stand out as a leader. So we talked about silence. Silence is very, 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 very important. You have to master this if you're trying to elevate yourself in terms of how you communicate as a leader. This is very, very, very important. Nikki the GOAT says, I am. Well, appreciate you, Nikki. I'm glad that you are hopefully subscribing. Feel free to check out my live videos. There's a lot of videos here that talk about advanced level communication skills to really help you stand out as a leader. I genuinely believe that people become great by how they communicate. And my mission here on this earth is to unlock the greatness within you in terms of how you communicate. And I do that by sharing over 20 years worth of experience as a director, a C-suite executive, a manager, and a public speaker to help you stand out from everybody else in terms of how you communicate with them. So what we talked about is how you can really make silence a big part of your leadership superpower. Now, the next thing I want to mention to you, we talked about when you can do silence in terms of if you're trying to make a really big impact or you want to make a statement that's a really big statement that you need people to pay attention to. Using silence is very important for you to allow the audience to digest the information that you are sharing so they can process what you're saying. Many people just keep talking, and individuals have a really hard time processing what's being said. This is what makes you stand out as a leader. The second time that you want to use silence in a conversation as a leader is at the beginning of a statement. So if someone asks you a question, sometimes you may strategically want to pause. Now, there's times when you do not want to pause for too long. I talked about this briefly yesterday in my live video yesterday evening about thinking on your feet. This is definitely a live you want to watch because I share with you a personal experience that happened to me when I was on the news where the person I was with paused before they spoke, but it didn't come across that well. So you want to be mindful of that specifically. Now, let's talk about strategies in terms of how can you really start mastering silence in a conversation as a leader. So before I go to that, let me see what's going on. Nikki is the GOAT says, I try to focus on my prayer for you. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, friend. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And I wish you all blessings as well. So let's talk about some strategies. How can you realistically start learning how to master silence in a conversation? I know it's awkward, friends. I know it's awkward and it feels awkward because you feel like you need to be saying something, but this is what will set you apart as a leader. As I mentioned, most people will just not pause, but if you can start pausing in your conversations when you're trying to make a big impact or make a big statement, it will make you stand out as a leader. So what's the strategy I want to share with you today? I have many strategies. So if you happen to be in my direct target audience that I provide executive coaching services to in terms of women in leadership, then contact me for a strategy session in the description below. If you're not my target audience, no problem. You're still here to learn a lot of great information. So let me see. Nikki is the GOAT says it is awkward. Yes, Nikki is the GOAT. That is correct. And this Nikki is the GOAT. This is the reason why I emphasize mastering silence in a conversation Even if you are having a one-on-one conversation, or you are speaking in front of a group of people, maybe you're speaking in front of a board, you're speaking in front of a conference, or etc. Silence is awkward. It's so awkward. Nikki is the GOAT is completely correct on that. So let's think about it this way. If it's awkward, then how much more will you stand out from everybody else if you can master the awkwardness of silence? I appreciate the heart emojis. Everybody has a hard time with silence, but mastering it will set you apart as a leader, because most people struggle with it. Now, there's a couple things before I go into the strategy in terms of how you can start mastering silence, but there's three, I would say, communication gestures, and I talk about heavily on advanced communication skills here on my channel, but there's three gestures, there's three aspects of communication that people really struggle with. Now, there's a lot of them, but I'm going to highlight the three if we're just focusing in on just your visual, your face. People struggle with the following. They struggle with making eye contact, because eye contact, once again, it can feel awkward. People also struggle with silence in a conversation, because it can feel awkward. People also struggle with their facial expressions. Why? Because they don't know what they need to be doing to show emotion or not emotion, depending on the conversation. So if you can master these three skills, and this is what I really focus in on my Real Executive Woman program, and just here on my channel, if you can master these three skills, you will automatically stand out as a leader, because majority of people do not know how to master these skills, and a lot of leaders do not know how to master these skills as well. So Nikki is the GOAT says a lot. Yes, that is true. Nikki is the GOAT says, I struggle with eye contact. Okay, so Nikki is the GOAT. There are so many videos I have on my channel that talk about eye contact. And just because you mentioned it, and this is your first time being here, I'm going to give you a teaser in terms of what I talk about. You want to look out for eye contact videos that talk about the cowboy, okay? The cowboy is my analogy that I use with my clients in a one-on-one executive coaching session to help them start mastering eye contact. Because if you struggle with eye contact, Nikki is the GOAT. Many other people do too. And therefore, if we can reverse that and say, if Nikki is the GOAT can master eye contact, then Nikki is the GOAT is going to stand out from everybody else. So let me give you a teaser, Nikki is the GOAT. And then there's a couple live videos on my channel where you can take a look at that information and go into a little bit more detail. But eye contact is extremely important. And this is something people struggle with. So how can you master eye contact? And then I'll go into the strategy about silence. One of the things you can do is, I talk about this in my videos in more detail, is you think about it in terms of a cowboy. So I'm based out of the United States here, and many, many years ago, decades and decades and centuries ago, we had cowboys here. And so what would happen is that there was a conversation, a dispute. The cowboys would go outside and they would have a conversation about it, and things would happen. Well, what happens, and this is what I tell my clients to do in a one-on-one executive coaching session, is when you're making eye contact with somebody, you do not want to be the person that looks away first. That is the key to eye contact. I know it's hard, but you have to be the person that does not look away. Now, I go into a lot more detail on the live videos that I mentioned that I talk about eye contact, but that is just a teaser just because you mentioned it, Nikki is the GOAT, and I appreciate you being here. But you want to be the person that does not look away first. I talk a little bit more about those strategies in those videos, but that's really important in terms of mastering eye contact. So that's one thing I want to share with you. Now, in terms of a strategy for silence, people wonder, well, how long do I have to stay silent and etc.? I don't know. What should I do? How long do I need to be silent? Is it for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds? You can break it down into seconds if you like to. Sometimes that may make it more overwhelming for you. I would say normally it depends on your conversation. It could be 5 to 7 seconds of silence if you need to make a really big impact. However, a good rule of thumb I would share with you if you're trying to master silence is, once you make your statement and you stay silent, look at your room. Look at your room and see what they're doing. If you are very observant, and I talk about this on my channel, how critically it is important for you to observe what's going on as a higher level communicator, which is why hopefully you're subscribed to the channel. After you pause, look at your audience and see what are their reactions. You will literally see, once you pause after a big statement, you will see people start to process the information. They may look, they may turn their head, or they may put their hand on their face. They may shift gait. They may move over a little bit, or they may look at you directly. They are telling you, I have had enough time to process this information. Now, you don't want to sit there and do it forever, but your audience will tell you when enough silence is enough. They will start to move. They will start, you can see that they're thinking. Does that make sense? You can start to see your audience is thinking about what it is that you said. And that, leaders, is a very, very good time for you to start talking about your next topic, because you have seen that your audience has been able to receive the information and you see that they're thinking about it. You've done your pause before. And so now you say, you said something, you've paused. You see the audience is starting to think. Now you can start picking up with your next topic. I hope this information has been helpful to you. Mastering silence and the power of the pause in a conversation, in a presentation, as a leader is one of the most important skills that you will need to master. And this is a secret that people do not talk about, especially as it relates to leadership and as it relates to communication, which is why you are here and you clicked on this video. So I hope this information is helpful to you all. I do go live later this afternoon. I typically go live Tuesday through Friday. For those of you who are new, I go live Tuesday through Friday. And I do lives in the morning time here, and then I also do lives in the evening. So I may go into eye contact a bit more. Nikki is the GOAT this evening. I do have a lot of videos on my channel that I talk about eye contact, but this is one of my favorite topics because people struggle with it. I typically deal with the hard situations. That's what people come to me for. Therefore, if you're trying to really learn more about it, then subscribe to the channel, and you're welcome to join me later this evening. I will probably talk a little bit more about eye contact. If not, I will give you some insight in terms of another excellent communication skill strategy that can help you set yourself apart as a leader. I hope you all have an absolute amazing day. And if you have any questions specifically as it relates to leadership communication, let me know if there's anything you're struggling with. And then also let me know in the comments below if you've ever struggled with silence in a conversation. I appreciate you all so much for being here, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye for now.